All right, guys, we'll get started. So let's see. Where did we leave off from last week? I think we ended off around here. All right, this is what we highlighted. Actually, not on this time frame. It was a 12-hour, right? This is where we left off last week, where we thought we would see more bullish movement, right? We got the rejection, and then we got some sort of reaction. So we got the reaction, but based off of how slow momentum is going, I don't know if this will just boom or it'll collapse, right? But either way, no matter what, this is still higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, right? Just like we discussed last week. So I'm not going to, dive way in depth like I did last week, just because it's literally the same thing, right? This is what we're aiming for on a monthly time frame. We're aiming for that. But more importantly, we're aiming for the 50%, right around that 100 quarter level. Let me mark that out.
What do you mean by quarter?
Quarter theory. Look it up. It's basically every 0, 25, 75, 50 quarter. And that just represents potential, like, how do I say, psychological levels. But obviously, I don't go mainly off of that. That's just extra. But obviously, 100 is very important to this whole range, right? So aiming for anywhere from 100 to 100.5. That's where I would like. Maybe in the next 2-3 months. Potentially next year. We'll see though. What the hell? Alright. So I'm gonna dive in. So where I thought we were just gonna see dollar just boom was right here. I'm gonna delete this. Was right here, right? We had a sell to buy, and then corrective move, wick into our sponsored candle, and then we rejected, right? So this is where I thought we were just gonna keep continuing trend, but obviously that's not the case. And as we dive in closer and closer, momentum is looking a little. It looks like it's slowing down, but I wouldn't say it's starting to turn around. Just because I feel as if so orders there. Maybe there's orders even there, right? So I feel like as if we should at least close this gap and continue to our targets, more than likely 99.58, especially because I know we have news. What is that, tomorrow? Or was that today? No, we have news tomorrow at 7:30, right? So this will probably give some volatility, right? But ultimately, I'm still looking for this to go higher, just because that's what makes sense to me. But we are seeming a bit stagnant in this upward movement in comparison to this downward movement. So if we do get a sort of push down, very unlikely to me, but if we do, then we could see some liquidity start being taken out from the downside. But more than likely, I feel like as if maybe we'll even get one wick of rejection just for the body to close, as in like a hammer or something like that, so we can continue higher. But yeah, I'm not really looking for this to sell off just yet. So we'll correlate that to EURUSD, and this is looking dumb. Like, this is looking more bull than DXY is looking as short, So we got here, right? What I thought we had here was I thought we were gonna have 1, 2, 3, and then 4, right? Blue, 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 red. This is what I wanted, and it's obviously still valid to a certain extent, but it's looking a bit messy, especially just because we got this big upwards movement. I'm sorry, this big upward candle, and then we had a bull flag, and then we rejected, right? But now that I'm looking at this, the only way for this entire or for this bias of mine to break is if that candle just shuts off, if that candle just gets taken out completely, and even that one, right? Because that will signify me some sort of shift in trend, and that means that the daily closure will more than likely close as a massive engulfing, right? So there's still a possibility that this can just wake up and then come back and close relatively where the closure of yesterday's candle was, or the earlier daily candle was. But as of now, I'm just waiting because the only reason why this bias is still basically valid to me is right. I was looking at the 15-minute time frame. I understand that we rejected this sponsored candle, right? Right, 1, 2, 3 wick rejections. But if we zoom in more, right, I see relative equal highs. Then I see a sponsored candle here. Then we measure the 50%. Let me fix that. Right, and obviously these equal highs right here never tapped even the open of this candle. So what do I assume is going to do? It's going to take those out. So as you can see, the first initial push, right, it didn't clear out the liquidity. So what does that mean? That means there's more liquidity here, right? So now there's potential liquidity here and here. And not only that, but we have a bull flag. So wherever you found an entry, this would have been your intraday first target. And then your intraday second target would have been there for the buy, right? And then you would have had, relatively, you would have gotten your first TP, which is there, right? But now we have left behind equal highs again. So we take those out, and then now we take out this liquidity, these equal highs here, to come into the range of here, right? But now, as you can see, we left equal highs again. So now the point of interest to me that keeps this trade valid is this 50%, right? And if we do hit that entry, that's relatively you can be you can do a 2 pip stop loss there, because I know that if this fully breaks, then this entire bias is just, gone to shit. Like, in case we do get that, which we more than likely will, just because of how corrective this move looks, best case scenario, you get something like that. Right, take out the liquidity up here, these two equal highs, and then hopefully tap 50% to continue lower. But obviously, once that's invalidated, if that's invalidated, then our next area of interest will more than likely be somewhere in this area, right? Because then you could say there's liquidity there, blah, blah, blah. But when you're also looking at this, there is inefficient pricing right there. So, best case scenario, midway through London, we get some sort of fuck you candle here, and then hopefully come back into this inefficient pricing. I got the wrong one.
After it broke the bullish flag, do you think there's inefficiency right there?
Here,
Yeah.
technically, but I wouldn't consider that inefficient pricing,
How come?
because notice how this void is just in between from left to right. From here, it's just a right. So this pricing here could just be balancing out this range here. So, best case, you get something there as your first target, but then obviously if this is taken out completely, this is just, you can just ride this out. But this is a pair that can actually just genuinely fail, but I hope it doesn't, just because it'll invalidate my entire bias on dollar. Right? Yeah, 12 hours looking iffy, but we'll for sure know the direction of EURUSD for the next like maybe week or so, based off of tomorrow's closure. Next would be, I'll go for EURGBP. Right, so here's where people messed up on this pair, right? So disregard whatever happened left, right? But what we see here, there, right? We see, essentially, you could say, whatever one, you could see some sort of accumulation here, right? Whatever you want. But what you got to realize is that we did get a structure break. And that structure break is what showed you that the shift in momentum occurred. So now, how do you get an entry here in this type of scenario? Right, why is this being so slow? What the? All right, so right off the bat, as soon as we got this, well, let's say here is a structure break, right? So notice that right before this structure break, after this was taken, notice how we left inefficient pricing, right? That inefficient pricing is your entry. Why? Because you have liquidity there, relative equal lows, tons of liquidity there. You take those out, you balance price so that you can continue higher. And then I know yesterday a couple of guys got some re-entries in based off of this sell to buy move, right? Sell to buy, price will only naturally come back to its 50%, right? Simple. And that would have been technically 2-3 pips of drawdown max if you go off the 50%. If not,
Also inefficiency on the 15.
oh really? Let me check that out.
Yo,
I have a
actually,
question real quick.
Mm-hmm.
When you get a sponsored candle like the sell to buy, you would take the 50% of the sell candle, right?
Of course,
What
yeah,
you did right there.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
yo, I actually have to sell on this because on the 15 minute, like break it to the 50% of the buy to sell.
Right there. Yeah, see, when you're unsure, there's really, you can take the trade, but more than anything, you want to observe what happens. Right? So you see right there, inefficiency fill. All of this is inefficient pricing. You could say, that right there is just a big skip in liquidity. Price came back, accounted for that, and kept going.
You don't. I'm not sure if you said this, but like when there's a big wick, like isn't the market supposed to like? We're not supposed to, but more likely to fill the wick.
No, I never said that.
Okay.
That's called wick fills. I used to trade that, but now it doesn't really make sense to me just how that would work.
My tape power is literally at the body of that
Mhm.
candle, like where the big wick is at.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But as for now, I don't see a play on it.
This.
Obviously, since we did get that shift in momentum, my target, best case, is we somehow reach back up here. This would be ideal because from here we sell off to fucking hell. Which this is definitely gaining momentum. There's definitely liquidity here, liquidity here. If we can reach that high, obviously that's ideal. Hold on. Yo, this guy's always bothering me to get on my clothes. Alright, so buy to sell. That's hasn't been tapped anywhere near it, but that would be my ideal position because let's say we get a sell position here, and by the end of the month we get some closure in and around somewhere there. So because I'm looking at a long-term sell here, right? So if we somehow reach up here, we're reaching the wick of a potential UTAD, right? And then from there, potentially it can fully die off. Just because I have no faith in Euro long term, especially once Brexit concludes, I have no faith in it at all. And this has a lot of room. You see, like we can easily come back and even feel inefficiency here long term. But that's not for now, that's for later. As for now, just gonna see if my buy will actually reach that high. And I want to go over one more specifically, which is UCAD. Right, so this is something that like everybody wanted to sell, right? And even I wanted to sell it too. But where people messed up is people were trying to sell here without realizing that this entire move here happened. This entire upside move happened. Because what did this do? Remember what I told you guys last week? This one daily candle engulfed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12, 13, basically 13 days worth of information. That shows you that we're definitely not in a selling market, right? And not only that, but while those people were selling up there, I was trying to look for some sort of continuation setup just because I know that momentum is definitely not in my favor towards the downside, right? So I even showed you guys this. Right, that was the inefficient pricing. Price came back, tapped it, then we rejected, and then when we came back, I'm trying to remember where this sponsored candle was. Honestly, I don't remember where the sponsored candle was for here. But then you can consider this from wick to wick inefficient pricing.
Hey, Fredo.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have inefficient pricing and you're looking for an entry on that inefficiency, would you look for it to tap the? Would you look for it to tap or go into the 50%?
How do you play sponsored candles?
50%?
No,
Sure you don't.
no, you play both because you don't know. I don't know if it's gonna do that. Right? See that first inefficiency on UCAD on that I just showed you. Notice it just tapped the open,
Yeah.
and then there's like for example here, inefficient pricing hit the 50%, as you can see here.
Mm-hmm.
0.3 pip drawdown, and then it flew.
Oh, all right.
So you don't know. So you play both. So you scale in, right?
All
Or you could be a whole lot more conservative and wait for price action. Like for example, let's see if I can find this. No, you see here it wouldn't have given price action, but I always like to do both. And all my stops are always tight, and then they're always 1-2% risk. So at the end of the day, even if I'm wrong, the winners always outdo the losers. So does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. So now we came back again, right? We fell again, and this is actually going up for me. That's good. So what did I notice here? The same thing. Inefficient pricing, right? And actually, I saw this one pretty late. I saw this one while we were actually in the second candle here. So I noticed automatically the open was done for, right? But now we look for 50%, right? So now we have to start diving into time frames, blah, 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 right? So none of this makes sense to me. Long story short, we go to the 1 minute, right? And this is where it gets a lot more in depth, right? So what do we see here?
Wait,
What do you see here?
Wyckoff schematics?
Exactly, right? So when I saw this trade, price was somewhere around this relative area when I first saw this. So I see right, liquidity was taken there, was taken out here. That's one, right? Liquidity here, right. Liquidity right there was taken again for 3, which was your spring. And this is actually where I took my risk, right? And my second entry on a different account was actually when this happened, and then notice we left inefficient pricing there. But not only that, but this sell to buy here came back to mitigate that position, and it's rejecting, right? And then obviously after that, you could say anywhere around here. Pretty sure I got this from the 5 minute. So you zoom out to the 5 minute. Yeah, as you can see, we tapped the open of this sell to buy candle on the 5 minute. So you see how this is correlating on every time frame, right? I got my 3 drives My LPS was a sell to buy, and so obviously price came back to mitigate that position, and now we're getting a rejection to the upside. So the only way I know this is going to be in the clear for me is if, because it's starting to stall, so that's what I don't like. Right, so the only way for this to work for me is if this liquidity has to be taken out, give me some sort of continuation flag, and then we continue, and that's my schematic completed. But until then, I'm not in the clear. Right, the only way for a Wyckoff schematic to be valid is if it's complete. If not, then it's not. And best case, this continues because you can consider these relative equal highs. We can continue to maybe even, I'm trying to see. We could even by some chance take out these equal highs here. But until then, I'm just going to continue this minor uptrend just because I don't want to just start selling this nowhere without knowing a clear direction or without giving a clear confirmation as to we're going to get a sell-off. So for now, I'm just going to keep holding my buys risk-free, and until then, just seeing how this plays out. Just because I know that I'm fighting this strong momentum here. As you can see, 1-2 candles shot down. Let me see, it's probably like 30 pips. No, like 25-ish, 27-ish. So also that, yo, can you mute yourself, please? Whoever that is. Don't unmute yourself just to not mute yourself again. Alright. Because I know that these two candles here, they do have a lot of momentum, but that shot down of momentum also leaves inefficient pricing. So inefficient pricing could eventually be, it could be, filled and then continues down, or it'll be filled and continues higher. So yeah, that's basically all I got for this week. Now you guys can ask me whatever.
Fredo, can I ask you a question on GU?
Mm-hmm.
If you go on the daily, there's like a big inefficiency right under these equal lows on the hourly.
On the daily,
Yeah.
you're talking about this right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be the fill of your inefficiency there, which is what I'd like because this will cause your GBP to go up.
If like I zoomed in this inefficiency and right at the 50%, there's a sell to buy move on the 15-minute. I was looking for some sort of entry at that
Around here,
specific zone.
around
No,
here.
that no under. That's on the 1 hour, but I feel that it's already kind of rejecting out of that zone on these equal lows.
Well, yeah, I might have to zoom in for that.
Yeah, doji on the 1 hour.
You're talking about somewhere around here, right?
After that, right. Go on the 15-minute. It's pretty clear on the 15-minute chart.
Is it around here?
Yeah, it's right. It's right here. Oh, hold on.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, I see that. I see that. So anywhere between there.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. A Geo.
Or that. Yeah, it makes sense, but I'd like to correlate that to higher time frame. So let me see where that sits. Okay, yeah. So that's right around the 50%.
Yeah, that's what I was looking. But then, like, I was thinking that we won't get the whole inefficiency fill on the daily.
Yeah, but that doesn't really matter. Um, a lot of inefficiencies only go 50% and just keep going. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's very
yeah, makes
doable.
sense.
But this is something also, since it's a pretty big trade. This is something you can easily wait for to get something like that. Easily
Yeah,
something you can easily get a safe entry on that, just because that's more of a long term trade too.
yeah. All right.
But as of now, momentum is still to the downside, especially because of this inverted hammer from yesterday's closure.
Yeah, and we got equal lows too on the
Mhm.
hourly. So
Yeah, I saw that.
yeah,
Yeah, equal lows here, and then the GBP index is still looking. This is what I'm looking for, the GBP index to fill this inefficiency here, which this would also cause GU to go down, and it would cause Euro GBP to go up. So we'll see with time.
yeah, sounds good. Thanks, man.
Yeah. Who's next?
So can I like show you what I had charted up for your USD?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, put it in the chat.
Give me a sec. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Um. Oh, in the chat, in the Zoom chat. I don't know why I froze you.
All right, did you send it?
Yeah.
All right, let me see. Take off that risk to
Oh yeah.
reward.
Off. Mm-mm-mm. Mm. I got sent it again.
Yeah, but zoom in because you're looking at a candle on the smaller time frame, right?
What you mean? This is
Are
that?
you looking at it from this time frame specifically? Because you got to. Oh, you're looking at this too. Yeah, that's if if this setup is invalidated, then I'll easily see this coming up. But now the thing is that if it comes this high, then we would have broken structure here. Oh shit, wrong color. We would have broken structure like here, here, and here. So if that happens, then we'll be looking at potential uptrend. Yeah, potential uptrend starting.
So you don't think that those equal highs will be like taken out?
I mean, eventually they will. But the thing is, why do you want to just assume a whole shift of trend? It could happen, but I don't want to just assume that whole shift of trend, especially because I know that I want EU at 1.108, which is still 100 pips away,
Copy. Okay.
or 200, well, 100 and almost 200 pips away, right? Like by all means, that could happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if it reaches up this high, then I'm honestly going to be trying to look for some sort of buy setup to take it up.
Copy. Yeah.
You just got to adapt to what it gives you.
Can you
I don't trade GJ.
So let me show you this shit because for some reason, like, is it better than me? Yeah. Boom, boom, boom. Alright, so I'm like lost on this because I've been trying to buy this, and I think it like just hit my entry in a way, but
No, I didn't hit your entry.
like, oh yeah, um so if I zoom in 30 minute, there's like liquidity at that low, but I don't feel like it, since they kept making higher highs right there. Like I feel like
Well, what is the higher time frame saying?
um on the 4 hour, it's, I mean, I don't really, I see literally just a sell to buy because when you were talking about that, if it was a really like strong impulse up and then there's like a stall in the push and then that's the sponsored candle basically. I don't know if you
Hmm.
see that.
Because those are equal highs right here, and those are equal lows right there. So inefficiency where
Right,
talking about here.
right there, yeah.
Mm, if it comes this low, I'd like for it to take out equal lows. But the thing
Yeah,
is, I'm pretty sure this is looking. I wouldn't say this is looking bullish. Not just yet. We didn't go off on the monthly, but there's still potential liquidity down there. Um, your best bet is just continuing the trend, bro. And notice,
if I went to higher time frames, like I literally counted like the Elliott waves.
notice structure never was never taken out. But those are the equal highs, right? But you can't disregard that there's equal lows too.
Yeah, so if it broke those equal highs, where would the sponsor candle be? Would it be right here? Mm, okay. Yeah, I don't even know how to like I put like I have 14100 like
Draw on my
equal
screen.
high sell candle.
Draw on my screen.
I'm not gonna do that shit. Options, managing. Okay, bet. Right here. Would it be that?
Yeah, that is one potential sponsored candle just because it's a buy to sell. This buy to sell was already mitigated. I don't consider this a buy to sell. I mean, yeah, it's easily like a target to the upside, but like I said, where's your structure?
Um, down.
Exactly. So if we take out these equal highs and then we start seeing, I mean, these equal lows, and we start seeing something like that, maybe, then we could potentially consider this, right? 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yeah.
and then this would be your target. Anywhere up there would be your target. Your first target, obviously your first swing target, but if that happens, then you would have gotten like a whole schematic completion on the daily time frame. So this would long term just fucking boom. Just because you see equal highs, blah blah blah, etc. etc. etc.
Oh, so this will be like a swing. Yeah, my swing like it was gonna take out the previous high also. Like
Yeah, but you have to get that some sort of shift in momentum or shift in structure. Like best case, you get a spring, then you get some sort of LPS, and then that would show me that I'm trying to take this to the upside.
LPS.
Last point of supply. Look at the. I have a bunch of PDFs on there in my channel. Oh, it's actually in the. It's in the Zooms chat too. It's at the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's so much stuff in my channel. You just gotta look for it. Yeah, GJ's funny.
How about gold?
Gold.
Yeah, I had my thing saying that gold's gonna go to 1428.
Let me see. All right. So gold. Let me take this off. All right. So obviously this is still an area that's interesting to me. This inefficiency here,
Hey,
and then
exactly.
obviously this, and obviously that.
Mm.
So best case, you test this potential sponsored candle, come in here, and then we fly forever. Because I don't see this breaking structure anytime soon, right? And if it breaks this area, then obviously here's your next set. But this is obviously something long term. Like this you'll easily get 1,500 pips if we get some sort of buy entry in this area, right? And I'm aiming to long term take out those equal highs, take out liquidity here, and basically,
It looks like a daily bullish flag, don't it?
yeah, yeah, you could say that. But then, if you guys, whoever's been here in the team for a long time, you'll know I've said this a lot. You can see something like that, and then you can't forget that. Hold on, let me get my. You can't forget schematic 2 completed there. Schematic 2 is completed. And you look at it from a smart money perspective. Let me see. LPS 1, LPS 2, SOS, completion. So now we could see a test there, and then continuation to the upside. Because obviously this is still an area of interest right here. That'll be your first target, which takes out previous high liquidity. Next target would definitely be equal highs. And then after that, you just ride this bitch to the moon. Because I know people that have entries like here and here, just because they understand that the macro bias is to the upside. But yeah, does that make sense?
Definitely.
Yeah, so what's next?
Pretty much all okay. Let me get clarification on
Do you
something.
do you trade oil?
No, not anymore. These are the only pairs I trade, yeah.
Oh, alright.
Literally, these are the 6 pairs I trade. I don't need anything else. Literally with USDCAD and EURUSD alone, I'm doing like pretty decent with them. But yeah, oil would be a good pair to trade just because it correlates with USDCAD and Canadian dollar in general. But that's looking bearish for me from what I've seen around. Right, you gotta realize there is equal lows there. This is just looking bearish to me. I remember there were people that were actually shitting on people that were trying to sell this, right? but they didn't acknowledge the fact that this is massive inefficient pricing, and there's equal lows. And as you can see, this 12-hour was rejected from right there. And this whole move is 1,000 pips. So imagine you drop a standard on that. Yeah. But if not, if you guys have any more questions, if not, I'm done for the night. Yeah, he dropped the book on quarter theory. Let me put that. I'll put this link in Visionaries. Let me see. Oh, okay, yeah, he already posted it in there. All right, cool, cool. But yeah, unless you guys have any more questions, I'm done for the night. Interesting to see where where DXY will go from here. But yeah, we'll have to see.
Perfect. Yeah, so what if that QuickTime thing doesn't...
I'm sorry?
What if the QuickTime player doesn't actually, like, record?
No, it is.
Oh,
It's right there. But yeah, let me just stop the recording right now.